Hello YouTube, I am in the beautiful Portuguese city of Porto. I am joined by my parents. In fact, I have joined them because they've been here for 6 days. I've just arrived. Hello and welcome to Greetings from Porto. So, I've started the video here, but actually I started my trip yesterday when I came over. So first, let's see what Mum and Dad have been up to over the last few days.
David, this is for you. Beautiful. That is so long, it's basically from one end of the bridge to the other end. This is a joke. Come on, who would want to eat Sardinia from 67?
Oh, 67 was a vintage. What are you talking about?
So we're starting here in Porto. On Wednesday we'll be travelling by train all the way to Ghent in Belgium, and then we're going on to Amsterdam. But first, let's go back in time to my journey here. Whilst Mum and Dad were relaxing in the Douro Valley, I was at home packing my stuff, preparing for the impending Frexodus. I was due to fly out with Iberia, connecting at Madrid, but I received an email saying the Manchester to Madrid leg had been moved forward by 35 minutes, meaning I would miss my connection. Iberia were utterly useless, offered me no refund, and I was forced to book a new second leg with Ryanair and self-connect. So I'm here in Madrid airport. I'm self-connecting, but actually the arrival and departures are in the same hall. So as you walk out, you pass the departure halls, which would be very convenient, except I'm in a different terminal. Now, of course, to get between terminals 1, 2 and 3 and terminal 4, there are two different ways to go. You can take the shuttle bus, which is probably free actually, or you can take the metro, which is quite expensive because you have to buy an actual equivalent of an Oyster card. There's no paper tickets. So if you've never been to Madrid before, it's €7 because you've got to buy the card and then the ticket. And then also there's an additional cost for using the airport stations. So any sensible person would probably take the shuttle bus, which is why I'm here taking the metro. 2 stops, terminal 4 to terminals 1, 2 and 3. And here I am in Porto, where thankfully it is much cooler than Madrid. In Madrid it was very, very hot. Here it's quite a pleasant temperature, just a tiny bit warmer than it was back in Manchester. So here we are. I'm enjoyed by Dad, who's been here with Mum for the last 6 days.
6 fantastic days.
It's been a lovely romantic holiday for 2, and now I've come along to spoil it just for the last few days, and then we're all heading off to Ghent and Amsterdam. Good morning, Porto. Today is Tuesday. We are up. So Mum and Dad have been here for 6 days already. Today I've managed to get them up exceedingly early. We're out of the hotel at the, well, hostel actually, at 9 o'clock. Yes, you heard that right, 9 o'clock. This might be a new record. And I think we're going straight from breakfast to a food tasting tour or something like that. We were going to get the cable car, but it's not open until later, so we will go back and get it at some point. Meanwhile, Porto is filled with these massive, lovely bridges. That one carries the tram on top. So there's actually a bi-level bridge. Up, down you have this little street level, and then all the way up there you've got the trams. It's quite a spectacular bridge. This whole place is just an extremely scenic and lovely city. Up and up and up and up and up and up and up.
Try to sell this side for them.
We joined a Porto food tour, stopping off in various small stops to try different foods. First, cheese, charcuterie and jam. Then some local pastries, and then some tinned fish. Previously a staple in Portugal, apparently it's become very trendy again. It's made a comeback. I suspect it's about to make a comeback in the UK as well, depending on what Boris does over the next few months. And the food tour continues with some chicken sausages, cod kind of, what were they called? Like fish cakes. Is there a name for them? They were a bit like latkes. Anyway. And some very spicy hot sauce. So locations 4 and 5 were sandwiches and wine, and then craft beer. We're now getting to our final stop, which is port.
Oh, is it the final?
So a port tasting session later. We're now out. We're deciding what to do next. Mum and Dad have done pretty much everything they say they want to do. They've saved all the tram related things for me. So there's 3 heritage trams, a funicular and a cable car. We have a day and a half. There's also a very famous bookshop which we're currently looking for, which apparently is overrun with Harry Potter fans because J.K. Rowling apparently went there and got the idea of the moving staircases from this bookshop. We're now going to see if we can find it. This is, by the way, one of the heritage tram routes, but we haven't actually seen any trams. So that was the Livraria Lello, which is the first and probably last time I'll ever queue to get into a bookshop. It's a lovely, lovely little building. They have a clever system in place. So because lots of people just want to go in and aren't actually interested in buying books, you have to pay €5 to go in, But then if you're going to buy books, you can then use those €5 as a voucher to buy books. I think it's a good system. Oh, I see Dad whilst we were in there. Mum and Dad have already been, but Mum came with me again. Whilst we were in there, Dad went to the barber's to get a shave.
Hello. Very good timing.
Hello, how did we find you?
Smooth as a baby's bottom.
What kind of birds are these?
We stopped off for some pastel de natas. That's not a tram. So in typical Dad fashion, we've just come up with a plan and now we've changed it. We had been planning to take the heritage tram to the tram museum and out to the district of Foz. We're now going to hop on a tuk-tuk, then come back and do the 22 and the funicular. So whilst we're waiting for our tuk-tuk, which we booked for 5, we've decided to pop back into this main station, Salvento. So this seems to be very much a commuter station. It's a grand terminus, but it's not that big. So grand in more the English sense than the French sense. It also reminds me a bit of Liverpool Lime Street, because the train leaves the grand terminus and then immediately disappears into a tunnel. Tuk 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 tuk.
Dark street, but no reason to be scared actually. It's called dark because it's dark, but why is it dark? Because the 12th century, the taxes that people had to pay to the kingdom were too high, too expensive, if they built their buildings wide. Okay, so now we are about to cross the bridge to the other side of the river. Have you been there? Like, this side, like,
What, I've never been at the gate, huh?
yeah.
No?
I mean, it's not so interesting. It's just because it's the case of Porto. Because this one is close to the first. Here we have so many people think, first, the one in my right was designed by Eiffel here from the Eiffel Tower, but that is not true. But, so Louis the First.
At this point, the tour guide tells us a common misconception is that the famous Louis the First bridge, seen earlier in the video right outside our hostel, was built by Eiffel. It is in fact this bridge, the Maria Pia, further up the river, that was designed by him. The Louis the First was built by one of his students. The Maria Pier, the world's largest single-span bridge at the time of construction, used to carry a railway line, though the railway was redirected onto a newer bridge in 1991 due to safety concerns, and so the original bridge is now disused. The Louis I bridge replaced an earlier suspension bridge at the same location, the Maria II. The old pillars are still visible on the north side of the River Duro. So we've stopped off for 5 minutes at the monastery, where we can have some spectacular views of the River Duro. Oh, that's our bridge.
It's our bridge, and that's
Right, so we're literally, I know exactly where we are. We've come right back to the hotel, and now we're going back into the... So we're doubling back and forth, because now we're going right back into the city to then come back here. So, in fact, our hotel is right here.
See Porto Cruise?
So we've made it back to the hostel. Dan and I are running out to see if we can catch the cable car just before it closes. We have about 7 minutes. Mum's just decided to have a lie down. Let's go. Giant rabbit of rubbish. I mean, honestly, who thought a giant sculpture of a rabbit was a good idea? It's rubbish. I mean, it's literally rubbish. By the way, this was the bed I was sleeping in. Yes, it's a pork barrel.
Come on. Open your wings. Come on. It's a bit lazy.
It's a teenager. We crossed the river on the river taxi. I pointed out that river bus would have been a more appropriate name. We're now walking along the river looking for the terminus of the tram 1. That's quite a queue for the tram. We might be here for a while. So we've decided to walk towards the tram museum rather than queuing. Unfortunately, it's starting to rain. So this stop is Museo de Carro Electrico, which is on the line 1, and it's also the end of the line 18. And this is of course the stop that serves the tram museum, which is what we've come to take a look at. We were going to visit the tram museum, but they've just added an extra tram 1 into service, which means this is probably our best chance of getting on a tram and actually getting a seat. So what we might do is ride this, do a round trip on the line, then come back here and then do the museum. So we're taking it straight back towards the museum, but rather annoyingly we've been told we have to actually get off and then wait in the queue instead of just staying on the tram, which means we'll probably get on, but we won't get a seat. So this will be a flying visit to the Porto Tram Museum. Ah, it's lovely. Look at all these trams. It's cosy. Still in remarkably good condition. Very loud seagulls here.
I don't think it's seagulls. It's noises. I think this is a different museum. This is a museum.
Well, there you have it. That was a brief and flying visit to the Porto Tram Museum. Lovely little place. Would be nice if they would let people actually see the depot as well, because there's lots more trams in there. Would also be nice to have a bit longer, but we've booked a distillery tour, so we've got to get back to that. So that was the Sandeman wine cellar, which is, we've been saying in the hostel, that is part of the same cellar. So Dad and I are walking along to Ferreira, which is another wine cellar. Mum's gone back to the hostel to have a sit down. We have just under an hour before we hop on another taxi, which will take us to Vila Nova de Gaia station, from where we catch the Alpha Pendula, which will take us to Coimbra. So here we are at Vila Nova de Gaia. The station was closer to us than Porto's main station, Campania, but the Alpha Pendula does stop here, so we can get the train from here to Coimbra, where we will pick up the legendary Sud Express. So here we are in Coimbra. We have a couple of hours here, so we're gonna go and have some dinner. We're back here for about 11:30, where we pick up the Sud Express to Hendai. So here we are in Coimbra, the area. The walk from the station to the restaurant was a bit, quite a bit ugly, but actually if you walk towards the centre, it starts to get much nicer. But anyway, we've still got a couple of hours before our sleeper train, so we've decided to have a wander about and see a little bit of Coimbra while we can. Because let's be honest, are we ever going to come back to Coimbra? Quite flat. So these are our beds for the night. Not too shabby. That this is the cheapest room. Much nicer than the Hungarian ones. And they even have plug sockets. Don't know what Paul Lucas was on about. Definitely exist. This looks pretty nice. And we're on it until 11:30, where we arrive at Hendai.